Okay, so Google's searches have changed, and we really need to accept the fact that they're not going back to what they were before. And it can feel like walking into your favorite supermarket and finding that all the aisles have been rearranged because the essentials are still there. When we look at it here like this, it looks familiar. But everything in terms of the actual layout on the searches have changed. It's like having a helpful assistant on the door trying to summarize what's in each aisle before you even walk into the shop. And that assistant is Google's AI overview. And it's changing how people search, how they behave, how much traffic flows to our website from Google. And so today in our Website Wednesday, in the next few minutes, I'm going to unpack a few things. We're going to look at what's actually changed, how it's affecting behavior online when people are searching, what that means for our websites, and how to make sure that people still find and click on what we're creating on our sites. So if we imagine Google as a librarian, for years that librarian would just point you to the right shelf and say, you'll find what you need in these 5 books. Now the librarian actually reads all of those 5 books for you and then gives you a quick summary. And only if you're really curious do you go and pick up one of those books and read it from the original source. That's essentially what's happening with your AI overviews. And Google will now scan several websites. It will write its own summary and hypothesis, and it will show it right there, excuse me, on the search page with all of the sources listed underneath. So for complex questions, things like, how can coaches attract clients without social media? You will see this kind of summary. So we have the AI overview, and we can have a look at this. And really, it's only if we want to go ahead and click on any of these that we then go ahead and get the information from the original source. So you can see there's quite a lot of information in here. And there's more down here from sources across the web. There's some videos, discussions and forums, and then people also ask, and then we get into the normal feed. And so this becomes really important for you to understand how people are now searching and interacting with these kind of search results. For simple searches, like what's the weather like in London, or Tesco's opening times, you can see these simple searches haven't changed that much. We still get the Google business profile results at the top, and then we get that normal listing, which is what we're used to seeing. This is how we would usually expect to see those searches show up, or how it used to before AI overviews. So those summaries appear in about 1 in 5 searches. And I would say that I'm seeing them appear in most of my searches now. And that's really reshaping the landscape of how people find us as entrepreneurs and website owners. So we need to think of this as really the rise of the self-service checkout till. So you're still shopping, but you're not talking to a cashier anymore. You're getting what you need faster and with fewer steps, and you're waiting less. So people are still searching as much as ever before, but often they'll stop at that AI summary rather than clicking through. And so they will read through this, but then not necessarily go any further. And that's what's called a zero-click search. And it's been steadily climbing now for years. And the difference now is that even complex questions can end in 0 clicks because AI already gave a full enough answer to the person that was searching. And for us as website owners, this means that our content might get fewer visits, especially the short factual posts that can be summarized in a few lines. And the key thing really to recognize is that Google is not the villain here. It's evolving with AI. And our job isn't to fight that AI librarian. It's to make sure that our book is so useful or so practical or so engaging that people actually still want to go ahead and read the original source of it or read it all in full. So there's 5 practical steps that I'm going to give you today on how you can stay visible and valuable in this kind of new evolving search landscape. So the first thing is to create click necessary content. And what I mean by that is to not just answer a question, to give people something that they actually need to come to you for. That might be templates, checklists, calculators, step-by-steps, downloads, or pricing details. So if the AI librarian gives a teaser, you want your site to be the book that everybody wants to borrow. So that's what I was meaning in terms of giving people something that they need, is by talking about things that they can grab. If you're writing long form content like blog posts, for example, you can give them a checklist or a cheat sheet or some kind of tool that they have to come to your website in order to actually go ahead and get. And speaking of this particular blog post, this is something that I talked about on a previous Website Wednesday, I think it was 2 weeks ago, about structuring your content clearly. So using your headings like a signpost. So give short, snappy answers near the top and then go deeper, but you want them to be correctly structured. So you want your H1s to H6s all to be in a correct format. I will link to this blog post below, but this is about structuring your website headings. It becomes more and more important when we're thinking about how we want to show up in those AI overviews. It's always been important for search, but it's becoming even more so now. And then you could add FAQs to some of those blog posts as well. It might have an FAQ section to answer the next question that someone might have when you've given them all the correct headings, which give them those signposts for the snappy answers. So that was the second thing. Make sure that you're structuring your content correctly. And the third thing is you can add schema. Now, if you haven't heard of schema before, it's really like your website's labels. It's like printing neat labels for your shelves so Google knows exactly what's what. If it's a recipe that you're publishing, label it as a recipe. If it's a step-by-step approach to doing something, label it as a how-to. If they're FAQs, let people know that they're FAQs, label them as such. You don't have to code it yourself because plugins like Yoast or Rank Math, they actually handle it automatically, and you can have more control over it with tools like Schema Pro. They give you extra options, but really think of Schema as you're almost whispering these clues to Google and telling them this is what this page is actually exactly about. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing is just to make sure that every click counts. And we've talked about this before. I've talked about this for years, that you want to make sure that the people who are coming to your website actually don't drop through the gaps. But it becomes more and more important because if people are clicking onto your site less often, you want to keep the ones who do. So you want to have a clear opt-in, freebie, lead magnet, and obviously make sure that you already have your email list in place so you're not relying solely on Google's mood swings. You want to make sure that you have access to these people as your audience and your prospects. And then the fifth thing is make sure that you're not only limiting yourself to the search engines, because people are searching everywhere now. So on Google, on YouTube, on podcasts, and in AI tools as well. So repurpose what you create and make your article a short video, or do your blog as a podcast clip, or make your checklist into a lead magnet. So the more doors you open, the more ways people can actually go ahead and find you. So those are the 5 things. So the first one is just to create click necessary content. The second one is structure your content clearly and correctly. The third one is to add schema. The fourth one is to make every click count. And the fifth one is to be findable in different places. So really, it's important for us to just recognize that Google hasn't gone away. It's just started talking back, really. Our job isn't to chase all of the algorithm tweaks, and it's really to make sure that we stay human, that we stay useful, and that we have real clarity within our content. So just as a brief summary, focus on the content that people actually need to click for. So they need to come through to your website to get the remainder of the content that they've started to look through on those AI overviews. Structure it and label it correctly, and really build connections beyond search so people can actually start to come looking for you. And it might be that if you want to take an action from this content that I've just given you and that what we've talked about today, is maybe pick one of your popular blog posts or podcast episodes and make it AI ready. That's like add an FAQ, make sure it's scannable, make sure that all of the headings are listed out correctly and in the correct hierarchy. Maybe add some kind of juicy lead magnet or a call to action, because that way, then if Google gives away the summary, people still want to come and visit the source content, which is actually on your website. That's when they actually need to come and visit your site. So I hope that you find that really useful. I would say don't become despondent if you're starting to see gluts or decreases in your website traffic. You just need to recognize that search is evolving and we just need to get ready for it and be as prepared as we possibly can be.